Hi there, everyone. It is once again 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm here with the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video in the midweek edition. Things are quieting down in a hurry weather-wise. They're going to stay that way for quite a while, looks like, with just a couple of exceptions. But that big bright thing in the sky today, that was a welcome to sight after more than a week worth of just gloomy conditions. The cloud coverage has been extensive, I should say, dating back to the beginning of last week, and we're heading into a new pattern now where every day is going to be kind of the opposite of what we had last week, and that every day from here on out, with the exception of maybe Sunday afternoon, should feature a fair amount of sunshine. But this is the time lapse from our Canfield Fairgrounds camera today. We had a couple of showers that moved through overnight as expected last night, but the clouds quickly broke for sunshine this morning, leading to a mostly sunny sky for much of the midday and afternoon. A few fair weather cumulus clouds, just a great looking afternoon. And, you know, it really was a real treat to get outside today with the dew points dropping like they did. And hopefully you got a chance to get outside before this earlier and earlier sunset. At this time of the year, our sunset this evening at 7:01, 7 o'clock tomorrow, and then we won't have a post 7 p.m. sunset again until we change the clocks in March, when we spring forward. I think it's around March 10th or something like that. Just a few weeks will be before 6:30 for those sunsets, and we're only, of course, about, maybe 5 weeks away from the fall time change, the return of standard time, and all of a sudden our sunsets will be pretty early in the 5 o'clock hour. In the meantime, it is remarkably quiet across the lower 48 states. You can count the raindrops almost on one hand. A couple of showers in southwestern Florida. Let's see, a couple of showers and sprinkles maybe up towards the U.S.-Canadian border up there. Other than that, though, it is hard to find any precipitation across the lower 48 states this evening, and our weather, of course, going to be quiet for the next few days. We'll blitz through Futurecast here because not much to show you Thursday and into Friday. Now, this next cold front will come through with little or no fanfare. Late in the day Friday into Friday evening, the breeze might kick up, a few fair weather clouds, but I think this is unlikely to bring us any rain. We should be in great shape for high school football, and high pressure will build in at the start of the weekend. So high school football forecast, you know it's early October, so you know it's going to cool down pretty quickly after sunset, especially when we have a pretty dry air mass overhead, and I expect that to be the case this week. We should see middle and upper 70s for daytime highs Friday, but by mid-evening, some locations will already be slipping down into the upper 50s to around 60, heading out of our local stadiums for Friday night football. So it's going to be one of those deals where you might be wearing shorts in the afternoon, but you might need a sweatshirt or a jacket before the evening is through. Now, this pattern going out over the next 10 days, you know, we've gotten used to some pretty warm weather, so a lot of highs in the 60s looks kind of cool, right? But hey, it's October. That's about where we should be. So after peaking at 78 on Sunday, that next cold front rolls through. And early next week, it'll be crisp. You know, we're talking lower middle 60s for daytime highs, but that's only a couple of degrees below average. It's not like it's a big temperature anomaly. I think beyond that, we're going to see a lot of those fairly seasonable temperatures with some gentle bobs up and down as we go into mid-month. I mentioned last evening on Weather for Weather Geeks Sunday, we have our next cold front coming our way, and there might be some showers and storms with that, perhaps even some gusty thunderstorms before Sunday is through. Modeling today a little bit faster with that front, perhaps reducing the severe weather chances, but that's something we'll be keeping a close eye on for the next few days. We'll talk about it more on Weather Geeks on Thursday. In the meantime, we're about 5 weeks or so away from my annual winter forecast. We're going to do it after Election Day. I think the date we're probably settling on is something like the 11th of November, somewhere in that vicinity. So in the next few weeks, especially on nights like this where the weather's pretty quiet, we're going to be talking more and more about what we're looking at for the upcoming winter season. If you have followed winter forecasts from me or any other source before, you may know that we look a lot at ocean water temperatures and the difference from average. The reason for that, the ocean waters can make the atmosphere do certain things. They can alter jet stream configurations. One of the highlights of this upcoming winter is the return of La Nina. We had an El Nino winter last winter. We'll have La Nina this winter, and basically that's the cooling of the waters in the equatorial Pacific. That's going to be key. I'm really, really interested to see how this very warm tongue of water continues to impact the northern hemisphere weather patterns going into winter. So far in fall, it has had an influence, I think, on a lot of the downstream jet stream perturbations, and might that continue into winter? If it does, if that remains a big player in a winter, in fact, if this ends up being a bigger deal than La Nina, that may tilt the odds in favor of a pretty warm winter. If fall, if the same impacts this is having over temperature patterns and overall weather patterns in late summer and fall, if that continues into winter, we'll probably see a continuation of pretty warm compared to average patterns. But in the meantime, La Nina is important, and where exactly the coldest of the waters set up, that's important. If the colder waters are out here come wintertime in the central Pacific, that would increase the odds of a warmer winter here locally. If we see a lot of deep blues setting up near South America, in other words, kind of an east-based La Nina, that would tilt the odds in favor of a colder winter based on historical outcomes. When it comes to La Nina, an east-based La Nina usually means odds are tilted in favor of colder outcomes for our part of the world. Elsewhere, we'll be talking about some Atlantic water temperatures as well. The entire Atlantic basin pretty much is warmer than the average. We even look at the Indian Ocean. There's nothing real remarkable going on out here in the Indian Ocean, but where we start to see some temperature anomalies on either the east side of the Indian Ocean or the west side of the Indian Ocean, believe it or not, that can cause a domino effect downstream into the Pacific and therefore into North America. And all these things are connected. It's really interesting, but it's a real challenge. And so in the lead up to my annual winter forecast, we'll be talking about a lot of things like that and many, many other aspects and things that go into a winter forecast. We'll be talking a lot about that in the coming weeks. In the meantime, thanks for watching on this Wednesday evening. Have a great rest of your night, and I'll be back with the final edition of Weather for Weather Geeks for this week coming up on Thursday evening. Hope to see you then.